Welcome to the Doctor's Mentor Show. If you believe that medicine is an industry and not a profession, if you enjoy submitting complex reimbursement claims, or you would do another residency just for fun, be advised, you're about to be offended. You should probably leave now.
All this talk about mentoring doctors is ridiculous. I thought doctors learned to do everything better than everyone else the first year of medical school. At least that's the way they act.
If you love assisting patients with vitality breakthroughs, if the right to practice medicine without interference is important, and you want expert tips for practice freedom and profits to support your epic life, welcome aboard and prepare to be blown away. The Doctor's Mentor Show starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Lori Barr.
Today's topic.
This is Marci Lock, and she has agreed to join me for this episode of The Doctor's Mentor in order to make sure that you can see just what it takes to move people or to move ourselves from one level of success to the next. So you're a big fish in a small pond. It's time to move. Your company's growing. You're ready to level up. And yet things are pretty good. You could get used to this.
Let's talk about that, shall we? So this is probably the first thing that I want people to understand is when we're in the place where we're like, our life is hard and we're in chaos, we're not balanced, we're either struggling with our body or business or something, we're like, oh, I want something different. So there's more pain in staying here and there's more pleasure in change. So we're motivated to create that change. Now, what I see most people do is they up level and they get to that place like, life's pretty good, life's pretty great. Those are the people that stay stagnant. Because we forget to continue to implement the behaviors and the tools and the things that expand that comfort zone of how much more success can I enjoy and abundance and love and joy and all these things that I can receive. And so we become reactive, like waiting for the next opportunity, waiting for even the stuff to show up that makes life hard, instead of continuing to be proactive in consciously expanding that comfort zone and allowing our success to go like this. So my experience is like living by those tools is, I'd be like, okay, like I'm creating this, and literally my life would shift so fast. And now it's where you even see how I see the ability to make things change so quickly when we're just continually doing those things and being proactive about it. So I love people to understand that, like, tune in and go, am I living in a place where I've kind of gone like, oh, life's pretty good. So there's not really that motive to change. There's not enough, pain that normally is the thing that forces people to change, and really deciding, getting clear of like, okay, wait, so why am I settling for good or great? Why not keep expanding myself to amazing and fantastical in every aspect of your life? And that's, Lori, like, that's my passion, right? Is like, there's so many people that go, well, we're living in this place of like, well, I can either have this or this. So they've gone, well, it's pretty good. I've got this, and yeah, this isn't awesome, but I've got this. Instead of like, why did we stop there? Why did we tend to believe that that's all that's possible, when really we're limitless? There's infinite possibilities. So what if our belief system was, oh, I can have this and this and this and this and this, and now how do we do that?
Who do I have to become for that to follow through?
So be, do, have. And that's a great concept, right? Is like, oh, well, so again, let's look at that. Maybe where people get stuck in this mentality of, well, it's good. It's pretty good. I'm here. Like, I finally created this. Maybe you put in the work, etc., to build your business to a certain degree. And it's like, oh, this is pretty good. So it's like, instead of, when I have that, then I'll do this too. When I build the business to this space, then I'll have time to get the body. Or when I take the business, when I get this thing, then I'll do the partnership. So we're always looking in the future. We're speaking in the future. And what happens is we create the resistance that says, oh, you've said this is where you want to stay. Instead of, who do I get to be? Like you said, being the person means doing the things that person does to have that as your result. Until we're willing to take responsibility of that, it never does change, right?
So if you don't know who Marci Lock is, she is the mind-body mentor. She has mentored thousands of people, many of whom you would know. They're famous people. And
also the 7-figure life catalyst, because we up level to that sense of life. It's awesome.
Yes. And I've had the pleasure to work with Marci for the past year and a half. Totally changed the way I look at things. Totally has helped me level up. Totally has helped me create an epic relationship in my family where one day's great and the next day I know will be even better, just because of of living intentionally in every moment, which is amazing. And I'm extremely grateful for that.
And I love you.
I love you too. And well, let's talk about you personally. Like when you were first building your business, what did it look like and how did you know it was time to grow?
Okay, so I want to bring this back. It's like we can have a vision of where we want to go. Most people go, well, I want to go there. And we have this mentality of all or none. Like, I want to go there, but, I've got to be all in on that or I can't do it at all yet. And so again, there's this like, well, when I have this, and this, and this. So what I want to shift and create the perception around is it's I'm going there. I'm all in on going there. So I was the $2 an hour waitress. People don't know my story. I found out I had a cheating husband, got divorced. I had a 1 and a 4-year-old to feed. I had, I was so broken. I was like, how can I be a full-time mom and actually feed my kids? And at that time in my life, it was like, well, I guess I could be a waitress. And I had never been a waitress my entire life. At 28 years old, decided that was the answer. and literally was like, okay, so I knew in that experience, I was like, I'm going to an epic life. I'm going there. Yet at that place, maybe having $2, an hour, $10 to my name. Did it look like I had all the pieces and tools? No. So if I kept going, well, I'm going to go there. It's like, it's too much. People become overwhelmed because we're triggered by our pain buttons, all our patterns, all the things that say, you can't do that. You got to have this, Just not the right time that keep us in the same place. Instead, what I recommend is you put your head down and you're like, okay, so what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? I always say inch by inch, life is a cinch, yard by yard, it's hard. So when I go, okay, what's the next step? All of a sudden I'm going there and I look up and I'm like, oh, I'm actually here. Holy cow. And so there's a whole nother set of intention. We get to talk about like the tools to literally designing your day and designing your life. That's the most powerful process where your mind is focused intentionally on the consciousness moment by moment. Instead of getting lost on all these other sidetracks, we're like moment by moment, I'm focusing on this. All of a sudden that shows up for us. And so we're there. So think about it as like, I want people to get clear on where they want to go. And then it's like, okay, put your head down and take it a next step at a time. So for me, I felt the inspiration to create my Mind Body Breakthrough program. And it was like, okay, well, not really sure what that looked like. Again, this is how real business works. It's not, well, okay, I have a plan and I got to build a funnel and I got to build a website and I got to write the program and get the marketing done and have all these things in place. Cause guess what? You spend all this time, have to, should down the road. You finally might get there and you're like, oh, nobody's responding. This doesn't really fit. That's not really my message. It's like you discover yourself along the way. So I had this inspiration come through me and it was like, how do you really create that change for people? Obviously I started as a trainer. So the body was a big influence. Yeah, I knew people sabotage the body, sabotage relationships, everything because internal. So it's like, I had this inspiration, like, putting together this mind body breakthrough, taking people through the body and the mind. So I was like, literally, that's all I knew. I went to the gym and I was like, hey, I really want to, try this program. I want to create this program of like, not going to compete with your trainers. It's going to be me and like 10, 12 people. I'm going to take them through mindset and also train them at the same time and just decided I'm going to do I ended up doing like a nighttime seminar. It was like eat to be a fat burn machine and break through sabotage. And at the end of that, I was just like, I'm doing this program and it's, an interview process. I'm going to pick 10 people. If you're interested, you can apply. Literally didn't know what the crap I was doing. I sat down and did the sales process and I was like, just figuring it out and closed the 10 people. And we were starting on Monday. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to train 10 people. And it was that first step. It's like, okay, what's the first thing they need? So I implemented the first thing they needed. And I was like, okay, what's the next thing they need? And as we went along, I got perfect feedback of what they were really seeking, where they were really at, what would be the most powerful for them. And by the time we were done with the 90-day program, I had a 90-day program. Then it was like, okay, cool. Next step, do it again. And, I want to shift this. I want to change this. Now, what I do, because my vision's expanded, my own journey has expanded. Obviously, it's like, that was like an inkling of what I do now. Yet I wouldn't be here if I didn't take those steps. So it's like, I got to that. I did that in gyms for, I expanded, had coaches do it, etc. And then I was like, there's more. I started seeing people go, hey, how do I participate in your program? Will you come to Yugoslavia? And I was like, I'm not even outside of Utah yet. How is this going to work? So it was like evidence that there's more. And I felt this call and that's it. It's like you feel this urge for more. You feel like there's more, yet you've stopped yourself because of the thoughts and the inner bullshit game that's like, oh, wait, I can't, blah, blah, blah. Instead of like, I feel this. Like, what would that look like?
Okay, let's take a time out here.
You're like, we could go anywhere with this.
Well, you said you stopped yourself and that's the honest truth. Yet a lot of people don't recognize that it is you that's stopping yourself. So let's put this in the context of a busy medical professional who's in practice. They're doing well. And how does resistance, because all resistance comes from within, how does that resistance show up so you don't think it's really you?
Well, let's look at you, for example, okay? You're the perfect story of this, right? Like, you're a medical professional. In the busy, the chaos, it's like that's what medical professionals experience, right?
Yes.
Their whole life gets thrown aside, relationships, etc., because everything's like you're married to the business, right? So what did you experience? Now you have where you lead people through writing their own book, you lead people through sexual creation stuff, you've got your podcast, you've got your show, you've got so many things that you train people on their medical business, like you're the doctor's mentor. All that came about in the last year and a half that we've worked together, and you were like in just this place of like, so you were drawn to me going, how does somebody rock balance and life? I'm a single mom with 2 little boys and, rocking over $100,000 a month and organically and all these things. You're like, how do you do that? Plus take care of your body. Plus how does that working, right? That's what drew you to me. It was like, how do I do that? So what came up for you as the resistance, being the medical professional, to go, how do I get out of this game?
Well, I think the first thing that came up for me was I'm comfortable. I
can do this. I've going through the motions.
I made it. And that was true both when I was in academics, because I was highly successful. The money was good. I had I could do any kind of exploration I wanted to on any kind of research I wanted to. I had the support. So things were good. And that's a real secret. Things are comfortable. So that complacency and comfortable, once I realized that for me that wasn't enough. I wanted more than comfort. I wanted security. I wanted to be curious and explore. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to help more people because I had been mentored so amazingly throughout my whole career by all these amazing other doctors and people outside of medicine. And I wanted other people to fall in love with the profession the way I had and be able to do it differently.
And so you were unfulfilled.
Correct.
You were like, there's more, right? And most people, it's that they ignore, because then they go, well, like, you had a lot of these stories. You're like, well, when I retire and when this happens and when this happens and I got mom and dad to take care of and the farm and this and all these things, instead of us taking it back and we like took it a moment at a time of retraining your mind to find like the next step and the solutions and like break down like perceptions and feelings and get clear with what was going on, and all these blocks just disappeared where you're like, oh, moment by moment. Now here it is like a year and a half later and you're literally doing massive things around the world, have amazing people that you work with, all these things that you offer, and you're still rocking your radiology business. So, and it's like, it's this perfectionism identity in this, how it has to look like. So really, it's the inner, so let's make it simple, right? We like to make it simple. This is how we roll, right? If you're not feeling awesome, let's look at what's going on. That's it. That is how simple it is. We've made it so complex and hard because really, truly, life is as easy or as hard as you want to make it. So let's break this down a little bit. I want people to be influenced by this and realizing, okay, you're 37.2 trillion plus unique cells. You're designed as a unique miracle. You're literally infinite, limitless possibilities. So you're fully capable, fully worthy. You're so unique. We don't even have the same fingerprints. And yet we have this idea of like, oh, it has to look this way. It's got to be perfect, blah, blah, blah. And when I just want you to take this in for a second. Like, I've used this example. You've heard me use this where it's like the sun doesn't struggle to shine every day. Grass doesn't struggle to grow. We're sitting here breathing. We're exuding an energy. We're literally vibrating something. Our thoughts are going out. We're speaking words. We are creating in this very moment effortlessly. But what have you been creating? What have you been committed to or unconsciously committed to creating is what you've been speaking and what you've been thinking, what you've been believing. Oh, life has to look this way. It's, this is where I'm capped. It's got to be this. That's all the resistance that we're talking about. When you recognize the truth is, if you fully loved yourself, you already know you're fully capable because we just talked about how we can think and believe and do anything. We're infinite, limitless possible creators. Yet if we fully loved ourselves, what would we be experiencing? Would we go, well, it's got to look like this and I have to settle over here and, I've got to be busy here and this is good enough. Would we be doing that? Or would we be like flying and like enjoying like every realm of life and seizing all these experiences? So the truth is you're worthy and you're fully capable of having whatever you want. And it's as easy or as hard as you want. And it's your right to choose that. Like, I'm not saying everyone, you should live like me. I'm like, this is what I'm choosing. And I honor you that you get to experience what you want to choose. So you have the right to choose, but it's simply a choice. So it's just like when we break down food stuff and everything, business stuff, everything's about like, it's the perception that's making it hard or easy, from your messaging that goes out to everything that you're doing. So bringing it back to, oh, I'm meant to feel good all the time. That's actually how you're designed. So when we go into a lot of the stuff that you and I did was like finding the feelings and being able to express and like you feel what's going on. If you're not feeling good, it's like, oh, why? What's going on? But most of us have not been, we've been trained to ignore that. So we just go, I'll just, I'd love to do that, but I can't. And I'll just ignore all of that. And I just keep operating out of the same old patterns.
It was so interesting. And I have a question that this is leading to for you. This week, I was surrounded in a mastermind setting with 9-figure business owners from all over who were talking about the next thing they're going to be working on, bringing ideas to the table, and expressing the resistance they were feeling, what was happening. And no matter how successful they were, and no matter if it was a guy or a gal, it was still
the same base
fear. Am I worthy? Do I deserve this? Don't I have enough? Why does he have we were talking about setting a number, and some people call it something that I won't call it. I'll call it the foo number. And it's a number so that you can just walk away from everything. And one of my mentors at this mastermind thing I was at said, well, what's your foo number? Well, he didn't say that, but he said, what you can imagine, he said. And I said, well, I can't say that I've concretely set one of those numbers where I would just walk away if I had that, if I knew I had that in hand, because I love what I do so much. And, that whole idea of setting an end point, even that is scary. So it doesn't matter how far you get. Like there was one story about this really successful person in the world of podcasting, and his foo number is amazingly high, and yet he lives a very simple life. He and his wife live very simply. And so this person asked him, well, why do you want that much for your foo number? And he said, because I want to give it all away. Because he was motivated by influence, by power, by what he could change in the world. So getting in touch with what you're influenced by is very important. And realize that it doesn't matter how successful you are, at least what I've seen in the circles I run around with, the fears are the same. Now you work with higher end clients than that. How does that, do you see anything different?
So something I want to point out is, so it's almost like we're saying if it's like, well, if I get to this, then I'll be good. Right? And that's actually, and tuning in. So there's people that are highly successful with money, but how do their relationships look? It's like I was with an individual this last week. He was, down for a big, huge event, and I got to spend time with him, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And knowing him personally is like he's worshipped and he's super successful, but he works like 80, 90 hours a week. And he's sacrificed his family and all these things. And to me, that's not what resonates for me. I want an awesome, amazing life in every aspect. That to me is success. That's balance. That's enjoying it. Like, and there's no stories of like how much money I can make and still have the family and still have all these things going. So it's like when we go, well, if I get there, then I'll be good. What's that about? Because for me, like I've had people ask me, they're like, okay, so you're making bank and, what would you do if you're, and I'm like, I'm already there. I'd still be doing what I'm doing. Like I just
love it.
Yeah, I still just see more things come through me to go, ooh, how else do I get to serve? And the more money is just a byproduct of how much you love yourself and how much value you're giving to the world. So some people are like giving so much value to the world, but because they don't love themselves, they can't ask for the exchange and they're sacrificing there. Or there's people that are making money, but because again, they're disconnected internally, they don't love themselves, the body's not there or the relationships aren't there. So it's like, let's evaluate like what, we can say it's successful around money, but that doesn't mean they're successful here. It's just like someone who's great at the body. They get the body for the validation there, yet the rest of their life is off. So that tells me I'm like, results don't lie. What are your results? That shows what you're actually unconsciously committed to. And tune into like, what do you really want as far as, so I mean, the high end people that I work with, game changers like you, it's like people who are like, they want to expand to, sharing more value with the world and take it's all about becoming easier. So we've gone from chaos and you couldn't do all these things to life's more simple. It's peace and flow. The money expands beyond limits. You're sharing more value with the world. The relationships are rocking and awesome. The body's totally in check. And so it's about alignment to all things being awesome and being good. So a lot of the times those high-end game changers, they've made success with money, yet the rest of their life has been sacrificed. So it's still breaking down the same stories as to why they can control one area of their life, but the other areas of life aren't there. So, I mean, that's ultimately for anybody to up level to the next level, which is what we're really talking about. It's like, you're not going to let yourself up level to the next level unless you decide, oh, I can be seen, I can be heard, I have a message to share. If there's all this internal game that's like, wait, what if people judge me and da-da-da-da, it's like, you're saying I'm only worth this level right here.
And you really do have to be willing to let go of your story. The story that got you to where you are is not the story that gets you to the next place.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing about that is, there was a great quote Ed Rush told us this week, and it was something like, you don't owe a minute to the future based on what you've done in the past.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Cause you're
know?
and it's like what you do right now is what you're going to get tomorrow. So people aren't like, well, because of this, that doesn't matter. It's like that. And actually the whole gift of that, the shift is seeing all that out. Like if you knew your only job was to love everything you're experiencing, love everything you ever have experienced, that's your only job. Because literally when you're in that energy, so we talk about like when you see something out of like in the past as like wrong or bad or shameful, that's the lowest vibrating energy. So let me just break down energy for a second, because some people are like, oh, what, woo-foo energy, what are you talking about? Energy is simple. We talked about this the other day. I was like, how do you guys feel? Like we were talking about breaking down in conversations even between spouses and how you tune in if there's some sort of internal block there or there's a thought or feeling, and I'm like, your energy will never lie, right? Like I could be like loving on Lori and I could be like, it feels so good. You know when you hug someone and you're just like, ooh, you feel so good.
You feel them in the hug.
Or you walk in a room and like, so if I hug
The
Lori,
makeup
like,
kiss.
Hi. Yeah, nice to see you too. It's like hugging a rock with limbs, right? That's energy, and you feel that. It's like when you walk in the room and your kids are silent, and you're like, what's going on in here? I know. Or you walk in a room and a couple's been fighting, you're like, something feels off. That's energy, right? And so like if you're either exuding an energy of fear, most people are operating all the time out of the energy of fear, which is lack, scarcity, worry. What if this happens? That's literally saying like, that's putting your focus on that. All the things are going to be created for that, instead of like the energy being about love energy, which is faith energy. It's curiosity, wonderment, excitement. So there's a huge difference between, well, what if this happens if I do this? And I'm so excited to see like, ooh, when I do that, who am I going to meet and what am I going to create and what am I going to discover? So your whole life is shifted towards this, let's like peaceful flow. And it doesn't matter if there's judgment. It's like all these things are the internal game that allows you to go to that next step. So it's like you feel that call. Like I noticed, I was like, there's more people for me to assist. I had people saying, hey, how do I get in your program? You're only in Utah. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's more to do here. And then it's like, ooh, what would that look like? I want to share a quick like perception or story of how effortless, like our whole goal is life is easy and effortless. We're talking about if you don't feel awesome, go inside, like what's going on? Because it's meant to be easy if you're choosing it. If it's hard, it's because you're choosing that, right? And I had, this is probably like 9 months ago. I was just sitting there and like something was like, oh, now it's time for you to assist more of the masses. That's the thought I heard. And I was like, what would that look like? Like I didn't have any internal blocks. So I was just like, what would that look like? All of a sudden it's like, call this girl. I was like, oh, okay. This girl had gone through my program years before. She did like a network marketing company. No idea why I would have the thought to call her, but my internal game wasn't like, well, why would I call her? And what if, she might judge me. And instead it was just like, okay. So I messaged her and I'm like, hey, just had a thought about you and, love to connect. And she's like, cool, I'm open right now. We jumped on the phone and within 10 minutes we had $1 million deal plus on the phone. So she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I just felt this inspiration and got to connect. And I said, I just feel like something came through me. I get to assist more of the masses now. She's like, you're kidding me. Now I do these, for these worldwide global companies, I implement their health game. And she's like, your program changed my life because it's a mindset. The body is like an inkling of that. She's like, we could implement your home program into these corporations. And all of a sudden I was like, that's it. And it wasn't the money. It was the idea. I was like, oh my gosh, how much more can I create value in the world and change the world when you have corporations that go, people like, we want them to have better health so that it's, money in the corporation. And yet what happens is there's a reason why people haven't been able to create the body. It's all the internal game. So when they actually get the internal game shifted, it changes everything in their life. And I'm like, wow, how many more people can be influenced just by me incorporating a corporate wellness program? And so it was like one of the couple ideas that came through me. Now it's like, in the last 6-9 months, I've really had all this stuff coming through me that I've created for the masses. And now I'm writing a book. And it's just like, because that's what came through me. And there's all these other aspects that have been added to my business on top of my clothing line and supplement line, all these things, because I just had that inspiration go, oh, what's next? What would that look like? What's next? And that's the key. to going to the next level. It's just, okay, cool. I want to go there. What's next? And put your head down and just keep moving towards that.
So let's sum up the major points that Marci has shared with us here. And this woman has so much experience working with so many people from so many walks of life and seeing that the struggles are the same, no matter if you're just starting out or if you really are at the high end. You still get scared when you make change. You still get comfortable for a while. And you've got to push yourself. You've got to give yourself some pain to move sometimes. Okay. So.
Well, it doesn't have to be painful. That's the story, right?
Right.
Oh no, it's going to be painful. It's like,
that's the most common way people motivate
what's painful
themselves.
is staying in your story.
Right.
Staying in the struggle. That's just like, it's like life just gets easier and easier when we implement these things. It's like, oh, it's great. Like you just said, it's greater and greater every day in your relationship and everything.
So loving yourself enough to give yourself love in every minute and to love the things that happen in your life, even if they're awful things. Like,
the darkness
finding out,
is how you find your light.
Yeah. Finding out that your husband's cheating, being in a medical environment that's stressful every moment, like an ER doctor, with people dying right and left. I mean, I just read a blog post about some poor ER doctor having to help a 21-year-old asthmatic not die from an asthma attack and how stressful that was. And sure, we feel for the patient, and yes, we feel for the doctor too. So how do you love yourself in those moments, in your most stressful moments? How do you love yourself enough to hear the ideas when they come to you, to see the opportunities, and be willing to approach it with a, wow, what is possible? What's next?
Well, and maybe even with the love thing, it's like loving yourself now to go, there's more for you. Like not to just go, well, this is what it looks like, and
not to settle.
Yeah. And I remember as you kind of shifted into this, going from this like chaos till you literally became this value creator. Like you were influencing the other doctors and the other staff. They're like, you're just so positive and happy. And you were influencing the patients because you were carrying this different energy of like excitement and love all the time. Instead of like, we had the assignment where you did a little dance jiggy too, like you were creating this energy instead of being this person like, okay, life's hard. And then I go home and I'm exhausted. I'm stressed because I've been living this hard energy all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful. So hopefully that's enough to get you started on loving yourself enough to take the next step, being aware that you deserve it all. You really do. Totally. Remember, it's not about the money. It's not all about the power. It is all about how you're spending your time.
Yeah, I love this quote. This is the best, right? We can totally end on this. If you're like, Marci, we got to cut it off because I could go forever. Show me your schedule and I'll show you your priorities. And that's why for me, like I have date night with my Mondays is date night with my oldest. Tuesday night's my own personal date night. Wednesdays with my two boys. Thursday night's my youngest Gavin's date night. We always get one in the weekend too, because I'm like, this is the priority. Every aspect of my life. That's why I'm rocking my workout, right? Like every aspect of our life is priority. That's how you build an awesome balanced life. So if you're off on that, tune into that. Be like, what are you going to create when it's like, well, I'll have this game, but I won't have this. There's so much more.
So if you need help tweaking your schedule or if you want more information, this is Marci Lock.
And this is Lori Barr. Dr. Lori Barr, the doctor's mentor. She's amazing.
There's more to explore at thedoctorsmentor.com.
And we're so happy to be sharing this with you because life is awesome when you choose. And the power of choice is
yours. Choose your best life.
Rock it down.
Are you stopping at a hospital? Hello? Don't you know that hospitals are one of the sickest places on the planet? Don't touch anything in there and get out as fast as you can.